All right. Is it going to be a pay for service for clients?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. So we do have a vision, probably over maybe a 2 years in the future, we would evolve to become a social enterprise where we would have a kind of a revenue stream. What we imagine is kind of a sliding scale of charging potential clients. So if you're a bank or you're the city of Calgary, these services we provide are very valuable, right? Mm-hmm. Having that broad group of testers, but you can afford to pay for it. So we would essentially charge you kind of commercial rates for those larger enterprises. If you're a kind of a mid-sized, not for profit, right? That's big, right? But you have a social purpose. We might charge you half price, right? Half of commercial rate, because you're well funded and you're big enough that you can pay something, but we want to encourage your social purpose. So it would be a sliding scale, maybe reduced by 50%. If you're a smaller nonprofit, right, or that is doing really good work in the community, but there's no way that you have resources to pay for this, but you could still really benefit, then we would offer our services free of charge to that smaller organization, right? Mm-hmm. And so we would use our funding, right? So different funders, right, would be willing to support us because we are providing our services to organizations that have a social benefit. Mm-hmm. But as a social enterprise, we become more sustainable and don't rely totally on funding if we can develop a revenue stream from those organizations that can afford to pay for it. So that's mm-hmm. the idea. We're not sure if it's going to work or not, but that's where we're headed. Yeah.
Yeah, because it also matters what stage the organization is. Because if somebody's just testing out ideas, they probably don't have a revenue yet. It might be harder to come up with payment for that. But then, like you said, it looks like you're very flexible with that. You'll be able to work with each organization depending on where they're at.
That's 100% right. So basically, especially after the pandemic, a lot of businesses are actually cutting down on their budgets, right? So basically, on the other side, they actually understand that the technology is going to be the savior. If something happen again, maybe there's going to be another lockdown, then they are actually coming to the technology is going to save them. But on the contrary, they want to actually cut down. So basically, what's going to happen is if they actually don't want to pay the testing their application, when they have like someone like us who's actually custom building their features and designs, they want to actually test against those, just want to test those features. So why would they actually come to you and pay you for the testing, right? So basically it's more of a question how and why, right?
Yeah, I mean, things are pretty flexible right now, so we're just evolving various business models and how it's going to work. But for this first year or so, I mean, the funding we're looking for is really for us to hire a full-time project coordinator, and we won't be doing any kind of paid tests for probably that that first little while until we get our feet under us.
Yeah.
Is there any selection criteria for clients? You did say that you support clients that have a social good outcome. So if you have a flood of people interested, how do you choose who to take on and who not to?
Yeah, I mean, I think we would want to have the widest impact and benefit, right? So if an organization just has a very narrow services that they're offering versus one that's very wide, then that might be a criteria. But I think we are trying to be flexible. Going through the Mount Royal course in the winter, we had probably 40 different people from cross section of Calgary part of that course, and we developed some good relationships, for example, with the Kirby Center, which is seniors, right? So we'd like to do some testing with them. Vacova, which is a great organization that helps people with various type of handicaps. We have a relationship with the Social Impact Lab from the United Way. So they're doing some great work in the city, and this week we're trying to figure out a way that we can do usability testing with the through the Social Impact Lab. So we have a lot of kind of warm contacts, and again, we're a bunch of volunteers right now, right? So as we were saying before, when we we just have limited capacity right now, but I think if we are able to get some funding, get a full-time person, then we can launch, line up a bunch of clients, expand our pool of testers, and then actually get going and see how it works and see where it goes. Yeah.
And another thing I'll just add to that too is that, like, folks that would be the clients would also have to, the other aspect of that is being aware of what we are doing and having that sense of respect and empathy as we approach the testing. So some clients might be more focused on, hey, we want our app to just do awesome, and that's all great, but it still has to have that understanding of this is the testing that we're doing, and having that inclusive approach and that respect is a part of it, where maybe not everybody would approach from that perspective. So that's just, I think, another thing for who we wouldn't take on is some folks sometimes who wouldn't honor that. So it's just that's another part of stuff we're working on, right? As into how we're actually in doing that engagement, but also how we have that kind of engagement with the client side too, to have that understanding too. So
yeah, that is but please everyone don't take me otherwise, because when we actually develop something for the client, it is kind of really their property, and they are kind of own that software, and they want to get out their process into the market anyways, right? So basically they want to actually have the process in there. For example, recently we actually built the inventory management system for one of the coffee company, and they wanted to have their whole system just their company only. So those clients never, proprietary stuff, right? So basically they would never actually go out for the testing by a third party, right? So basically that's one of the reason I was asking.
And there's still opportunities, like, and that's the other part of it, like, is having the NDAs that are still part of testing within the proprietary side. Like when you have public services and stuff, this still can apply too, but it can be more open. But even if it is more closed off and proprietary, it's still say, hey, getting those voices in for those other people who it's supposed to be for down the road, right? But still having those other parts in place, so the testers also understand, hey, you can't just go put this up on Twitter, right? Or something. It is still another part of that whole perspective, but it's having that understanding ahead of time, instead of it just being, and then also afterwards is just, getting kind of more honed down as we have these networks built up. So.
100%,
Yeah, great.